Good morning. I'm delighted to be able to chat with you again this morning. I hope you had a great day of worship and fellowship yesterday. I was a guest speaker for a church about 80 miles away yesterday for Pastor Appreciation Day. It was an encouraging day for me and my wife, as well as for the pastor and his wife, as we celebrated God choosing us to proclaim the gospel of Christ. As we begin this week, we want to think about the differences of various ministry settings. Our weekly objectives for this week are to recognize the necessity of appreciating and discerning cultural differences, and to analyze differences in ministry skills based upon congregational size, and number 3, to diagnose congregational cultures, and number 4, to differentiate between the characteristics of a healthy culture and a toxic culture. We have 2 delightful resources for this week. This book by Samuel Chand is really fabulous, and we are to read the first 4 chapters in the book, and you will find it very stimulating and challenging to think about. And then the other book is a creatively written book by Mackintosh. It's an imaginary conversation that an older pastor has with a younger pastor. Now, it's not real at all, but it's written in such a real way. I've had a number of students who thought it was really Bill talking to Charlie and helping them out. You will find significant material in the chapters that we are to read, chapters 1, 6, 7, and 8. On page 17, you'll see this chart about the number of churches. I've seen different numbers, but the point is clear that 60% of all American churches are less than 129 members on a Sunday morning, attenders on a Sunday morning. 85% are under 250. So quite an interesting scenario. But he compares and contrasts how churches of various sizes function. And you'll find it quite interesting because the comparisons and contrast are quite important. You will have a paper to write that is to compare and contrast implementing a change in a church of less than 100 people, 200 people, and then implementing a change in a church with 200 to 400. Now, one way to implement change is to say, next Sunday we're going to start doing something. Too many churches do that, and it's a lot of consternation. You need to think these things through, because you make a boo-boo like that and you have alienated many people, and it takes a long time to recuperate. That is an important assignment to carefully think through, and then to list at least 3 cultural characteristics of your church. Now, this is not 0 to 400 church. 3 cultural characteristics of your church that would enhance its ability to implement change or would hinder it. So that's your opinion, but it's certainly important for you to think through. Read the directions carefully. Be sure that you include MLA formatting in your first page and the rest of the pages, so that you have your name in the upper right hand corner, as well as whatever page number that is, and then you have a works cited page. I also urge you, because you are a Moody Distance Learning student, you have subscription to Microsoft Word 365, whatever the technical name is, and one of the tools that they offer is spell check. Use it. You can also access grammar check. It is so helpful and so simple to use. I use it repeatedly every day. I'm typing along, I can't figure out how to spell a word. or it comes up with a little red line underneath it, and I thought, how is that spelled? And I use spell check, and it helps me immensely. And in the discussion boards, please put your name in some form as in the subject line of the uh, discussion, so that it's Beatty DB2 or something like that, so that when I'm looking at your uh, submissions, I can see who you're interacting with, and it just simplifies my life a lot. Because if I get 3 papers that say DB2, who is DB2 on this one? So it's complex. And creative titles, they're likewise. I love creativity, but they're a headache when I go to start grading and start reading. And who is he referencing in this? So that's a couple things, and I think that's what I want to cover. Oh, you have 3 videos. I have a little short one, and then 2 by Dr. Chan that I think you will find very helpful. And oh no, the discussion board. Talking about discussion boards, then I forget about the title. You're to describe a real or a fictional situation where it's a toxic atmosphere. In some ways, I hope you can talk about an actual one. Don't make it so wildly fictitious that it's unreal if you're going to go the fictitious way. But identify the issues and then recommend 2 possible steps to move that staff from a toxic situation to a positive atmosphere. When you begin to grasp this dysfunctional, toxic situation, you will begin to observe, whether it's a family or a church staff or a place of employment, the difference between a healthy atmosphere and a toxic atmosphere. That's a big issue. So, well, you have a lot to think about this week. Have a great week.